going on, folks?
What is going on indeed, Jack?
Chris, buddy. I there's a lot to unpack. Yeah, we're back and we're here to break down the opening series for the Toronto Blue Jays this year. And Chris, I was disappointed with the outcome, as I'm sure you were, and a lot of Jays fans watching and or listening on Spotify probably were as well. That did not go how I envisioned, and I'm sure it didn't go exactly how the Jays envisioned. So, yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're exactly right. I don't think it was ideal. But I don't think I'm maybe as fired up as you are about it, but that's all good. Everyone kind of processes things at a different level. Jack, you've
Yeah.
always been more kind of fired up, and
Hot-headed, yeah.
I've always been more kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. It's early on, but anyways, let's get right into it. They had a
Yep.
three-game set over opening weekend against the St. Louis Cardinals,
Yep.
and they dropped two out of three of those games. And in neither game were able to keep, or in none of the games over the three-game set were they able to keep the Cardinals really in check.
No.
But let's go through them one by one. Opening day in St. Louis, it looked absolutely gorgeous there.
Yes, it
I
did.
must say, that ballpark is sparkling on
Yeah.
day games and on nice afternoons there in St. Louis. It looked amazing. Adam Wainwright came right out of the gate and he sang his little heart out.
Yeah, that was something to
That
behold,
was
eh?
really good. Yeah, that
That
was
was
a
the last thing I expected on opening day was
that
Adam
was a
like,
big Waino curveball. And then the game started.
yep.
Jays looked great. They looked really good. They were getting hits. Dalton Varsho came up with a big double. Kirk, two-run single. The boys were up. Later, I think the lead got to, was it 5-1 at one point?
I believe so, yeah.
Got to
And then
5-1, and then, or maybe it was 5-0 even. And then Alek Manoah was on the
didn't
mound,
didn't
and
look as sharp
he,
as he normally does.
yeah, he really got, I would say, killed by the long ball in that game. He gave up two big home runs, one to
Yeah.
the Canadian Tyler O'Neill. It's just automatic on opening day that he'll hit a home run.
What is that?
And
Four consecutive opening day home runs for that
yeah,
guy? Ah, man, he's a
pretty
stud.
impressive. That's pretty impressive for
Yeah,
old the BC boy, Tyler O'Neill. And then I think Brendan Donovan tattooed one out to right field as well from
I
the
believe
left
so.
side
Yeah.
there. So I think that should maybe be our first talking point about St. Louis is Alek Manoah. Are you worried, Jack? Are you going to trust this guy because he's been so good for the Jays in the past? I know what side I'm on, but
Hmm.
you can take it away.
See, I know we weren't gonna bring up last night's game. For those of you watching, are recording this after the first game of the Kansas City series, and
It's good to not talk about that game. It's okay.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, there's a certain pitcher that started that game that I wasn't happy with the result or the outcome. But the difference between Alek Manoah and said pitcher, it's Jose Barrios, let's be honest. Alek Manoah last year was a Cy Young finalist, and he had like one start that was similar to last night where he wasn't able to go 5+ innings last season, whereas Barrios had many where he wasn't able to go that many innings. So this to me is just maybe, it's his first ever opening day start. He might be a bit nervous. He's got the yips a little bit. Also, the pitch clocks, like a lot of guys are having trouble adjusting to it. Some guys have been great, but some guys, who tend to work a bit slower in past seasons, like Manoah, like a Chris Bassett, they seem to be trying to make the adjustments in game, which can cause issues. And I'm not sure if that's exactly what was wrong, but to me, it definitely could be a contributing factor. And unfortunately, it bit Manoah on the behind. So, yeah, he got lit up pretty good, but I don't see any reason why he's not going to come back in the next game and absolutely tear it up. I can see a strong bounce back coming
Yeah.
his way.
Now that's the side I'm on as well. I mean, after the game, I heard him speaking, and he said, I was pitching pretty well. I just threw two pitches right down the middle to major league hitters, and that's what
Yeah.
really bit me. I mean, those guys are solid as anyone, and they're going to take those pitches and drive them pretty far. So yeah, I'm not too worried about Manoah. I think if it gets to a point where it's 3 starts in a row, 4 starts in a row, you got a month of this, then
Yeah.
maybe it's time to worry.
Yeah.
And think, what's going on here? Is it some new rules? Is it, like, is he physically like not feeling great? Is his confidence shot? But
Yeah.
you don't want to get too in depth with anything right now after one bad start, because he has shown that he's not the type of pitcher to not last too long in a game and to get roughed around. So we'll see
Yeah.
how the next start goes against the Royals, who are not nearly as talented.
No, the guy's a horse too, man. He
Yeah,
goes a long, deep way
yeah.
into ball games, like 90 plus
Well,
pitches
I think it was
pretty
only his
consistently
third start where he didn't get through 5 innings
in his career, which is
in
saying a
almost
lot.
2 years.
Yeah.
So that is pretty impressive. But let's get to the exciting part of this game now, where the Blue Jays, from the sixth inning on in that game, since the
Yeah.
start, from when the starters left, it was just all right. Which bullpen is going to officially blow this game? And it ended up being the St. Louis Cardinals, the Blue Jays,
Yep.
really led by the top two guys in their lineup, George Springer and Bo Bichette. Springer with an incredible 5-hit day. None of the balls were really hit well,
It was bloop
but
central, man. It was
yeah,
just
but
finding
he
holes.
was getting pitches that he liked. He was swinging at them, and they were falling for him. So you can't fault the guy for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a franchise record, 5 hits on opening day.
It was.
So that's pretty cool. And they came out with a big 10-9 win, which had all the fans, everyone feeling good, everyone thinking that if we just outscore teams by 1 run, doesn't matter how many runs we give up, we can win every game this year.
Yeah.
Not the case.
No.
It's not the type of team that the Jays want to be. But a win's a win. Jack, do you have any kind of final thoughts on that opening day? It was a thrilling game. It was a great win.
Yeah.
Yimi Garcia roughed up a little bit.
18 ERA.
And Meza really came in to take care of those two lefties, Donovan and Newbar. He didn't get either one out.
Eric Swanson looked good too. 2 strikeouts in his inning of work, which
Eric
I like
Swanson,
to see.
With that splitter that he's got.
It's Kevin Gausman and Shohei Ohtani style.
That could be a real weapon. For the Jays bullpen. But yeah, some bullpen shakiness. Nothing new for Blue Jays fans. Seems to happen every year, especially at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I will say, I think this season the bullpen is better than it's been the past 2 seasons.
Absolutely, it is.
But they have been giving up some runs. Yimi Garcia, he looked great this spring. Gave up a couple in that first start, but again, it was one appearance, and Blue Jays ended up winning. And I think that masked a couple of issues, because as we move on into the series, unless Jack, you have anything else you want to touch on in that first game, nothing really.
No, the bats were solid. I thought it was a sign of things to come over the next 2 games, but as you're gonna find out in about 2 seconds, no, that was not the case at all.
All right, game 2, 4-1 loss.
Yeah, but silver lining, Kevin Gausman looked like a god.
Oh yeah, to me, this game was not about Gausman. Gausman did what he does.
He did what he does, is dominate.
He does what we're used to him doing. To me, this game was all about the bats. Because Jack Flaherty had, was it 7 walks?
Horrible command. I think it was 8 walks and 7 strikeouts. Yeah, he walked more guys than he struck out. Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, this is all about runners in scoring position, and timely hitting, and the lineup kind of stumbling out of the gate. I think we can kind of stay away from pitching and defense a little bit in this game. Because there was a lot of opportunities in this game that the Blue Jays could not grasp a hold of, and especially I remember a couple of frustrating strikeouts from Brandon Belt, and it's very early. I don't want to jump on Brandon Belt too much. The second one, it was a breaking ball down and in on him. It was a really nice pitch.
You can't really do much with a slider coming in at 88.
That was a really, really nice pitch from Flaherty. I'm starting to see a bit of a trend of the lineup, kind of sputtering a bit. The way it was, put together that day. But again, it's super early. We have to say that with really everything we say. I know it's not the best thing to say. It's not something you want to be saying.
No.
It'd be nice to be the Tampa Bay Rays or the Minnesota Twins. You're undefeated right now. You say, oh, yeah, we came out firing.
Yeah, but look at their schedules in comparison.
I know. St. Louis is a really, really good team.
They're the favorite to win the National League Central by I believe, 5 or 6 games. Not to mention the Rays have played the Tigers. Now they're playing the Nationals, two of the worst teams in the league, and then the Oakland Athletics when they go home for their home opener.
Yeah.
They legitimately could start the season 9 or 10-0.
Yeah. Yeah.
That again, easy schedule now usually means harder schedule later.
Yeah.
So we'll see what they're made of when they go against teams like the Yankees and the Jays and whoever, right?
And especially this season where every team is playing everyone. It's a balanced schedule throughout. Every team's going to play every team. Every team's going to get a stretch of weak opponents. It just so happens that Tampa, I don't know why, they just get them all right off the bat.
They got to be making like deals with the devil, doing satanic rituals. They always find these crazy freaking guys who come out of nowhere, like who on teams that were complete overlooked, talented guys, and then Tampa's like, hold my beer. Like Christian Bethancourt who was he on the Athletics last year and they traded for him?
He was at one point. I know he was on the A's at one point.
I think it was the A's last year. He comes over and then he was like a below average catcher. And now he's one of the best like framers, throwers in the league. I'm like overnight.
Yeah.
Over the course of 3 months, all of a sudden he's one of the best defensive catchers in baseball. So Tampa, there's something in the water down in Tampa, man.
They're going to be good again, as they always are. I always say going into any season, doesn't matter what moves they make, they're going to win 80 games. They're just going to. But let's get back to the Jays in St. Louis.
Matt Chapman. Matt Chapman
had a really good series. I'm happy with Matt Chapman. I would consider, especially after what we saw in Game 1 of the Royal Series, which we'll recap the whole series at the end of the week.
He's been their best hitter.
A move to the cleanup spot, I think, could be good.
I don't know why he's hitting 7th and Brandon Belt is hitting 4th or 5th.
Yeah, a move down the lineup for Chapman, I think, would be a good change to make if you're going to make a change at this point.
Yeah. I'd put him right now, like you said, like either cleanup or 5, like because Varsho, he's looked good in his plate appearances. He's getting his walks, but he's kind of cooled down with putting the ball in play and getting base hits. So, to me, it's too early to move Springer, Vladdy, and Bo from where they are. Springer 1, Bo 2, Vlad 3. That stays because Vladdy last night drove in a run. He got a hit. He took his walks. Like Vladdy's eye seems to have returned to 2021 form. He's already got like 5 or 6 walks.
Yeah, and there's nobody that you could argue would fill in any of those spots. Like there's not even an argument to be made. Like that's your top 3. That's gonna be, and it's an elite offensive top 3. It's just you gotta stagger out the rest of the lineup in a way. And the thing with Varsho is he's a bit boom or bust. He's not as consistent, and I know Matt Chapman last season was also that way.
But he seems to have figured something out, man.
And there was a lot of talk about him changing something about his swing. I think
he has a toe tap now.
Toe tap, and
so he's getting his rhythm down with because he flicks the bat right off his shoulder. Yeah. But now he adds the toe tap with it, so it gets his timing down. His head's not moving as much, and then he's going. And he hit 2. I believe he has 4 or 5 doubles or 3 or 4 doubles already on the year.
No home runs, but a ton of doubles, ton of hard hit balls.
If he can hit like 290 this year and he takes a step back home run wise, I'm good with that. If he's gonna hit 40 doubles, and play Gold Glove caliber defense, dude, that's a great guy to have in your 4 or 5 or 5, 6, 7 range in the lineup. But like you said, right now, I think with the struggles of Varsho and Brandon Belt, you move Chappie up at least 1 or 2 spots. You get him up to the 5 or the 4 spot.
I wouldn't say that Varsho is really like struggling. It's just
his on base has been great. It's just he's average is
defensively slowly. He's been as advertised. He's looked really good in
Same
center.
With Kiermaier.
Kiermaier as well.
He's batting over 400.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get into the Kansas City series and a big play that happened last night that everyone listening knows what we're talking about. But that Game 2 against St. Louis, I would just chalk it up to St. Louis took advantage of opportunities and the Blue Jays didn't. And there's going to be games like that. Like I don't know if there's too much, you don't want to get too in depth on it. You don't want to bring out the tinfoil hat and start looking at conspiracies as to why are things happening. It's just the Cardinals came up with a couple big hits against some good pitching and the Jays struggled against a guy who couldn't control the zone, or who had no control. There was traffic on the bases all day, but they just couldn't dial it in and couldn't bring runs in. And then we have the explosion in game 3. So the Jays are 1-1 at this point. Things are still okay. And this was the game that kind of shifted, I think, some of the thinking around the team, because it was ugly. There's no other way to put it. Chris Bass, the off-season acquisition, he got
shelled.
He said that he never got hit like that before.
They were on everything.
And he throws so many pitches. He said they were on all 6 pitches, which is so rare.
He threw 6. That's insane.
And they were rocketing, all of them. The first 2 batters homered. The Jays had a bit of a push in the top of the second, I believe, to make it a bit of a close game. And then Bassett just continued to get roughed up. 10 hits, 9 runs, 9 earned runs. Again, I'm the type of person that would like to say it's early. It's one start.
Yeah.
First start. But this game was very, very tough to watch, Jack.
I'm not gonna say what I threw, but I threw something.
Yeah. You threw something?
I threw something.
I was watching it at work, so I had to be.
I was disgusted.
Yeah. It was not fun. It was not fun.
It was Sunday, if I remember, right? It was Sunday. I was at work watching it. I was prepping some stuff, and then I had it on my area in front of me, and I was chopping onions. I was crying for the pain that we were in because of the freaking outcome. But no, I had a rag in my hand. I was like, fucking get out of here. And I was just, after Bassett got knocked around like that, and then the Bass just didn't recover really. Like George Springer, 5 for 6 in the first game, and then goes 0 for 5 in the next 2, back to back.
I know, it makes no sense.
Guy couldn't buy an out, and then now he can't buy a hit. Yeah. Baseball's a funny game, man. It's just that's how it goes. Someday you're making weak contact, and it's just finding spots. You're hitting into no man's land, and then the next day you can square up the ball, and it's a line out, it's a deep fly out, it's a strikeout. Like there's so many outcomes in baseball that it's the luck of the draw thing, Yeah. So the way I look at this is, it could be a bit of bad luck on the hitting side. However, don't tell Matt Chapman that, because he's having the time of his life right now. He went 3 for 4 in that game, in game 3, with a ribby and 2 runs, and I believe a double on one of his hits. So he's been unbelievable. It just, they just couldn't seem to get it together.
Well, I don't think the lineup is really the problem here.
No, I think it's
the .01 problem. I think it would be Chris Bassett just getting absolutely touched up.
Yeah. That game 3,
immediately, you put your team in a hole like that. It's going to take a very special performance to come back and to win the game like that. We saw it again last night. The Jays put up some runs, but it's when you're down like 9.
It's demoralizing.
When you go down like that, like 7-0, like the first couple of innings, it's like, what do we do? Yeah, what do we do? We can try our best, but when you don't have guys stringing hits together, when you don't have guys hitting home runs, which the Jays didn't hit a home run in the opening series. If you would have told me that, I would have been.
It's the first time in their franchise history.
That's a problem. And you got to credit St. Louis. They're a really good team. That is a heck of a lineup. That's one of the best lineups that these pitchers for the Jays are going to face this season. And they do get my benefit of the doubt of it being the first series, the first start for all these guys.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to, see what happens from here. But I'm not going to let Bassett have any more starts like that.
I sincerely hope not.
Asking some serious questions about why did we sign him? Was there a reason the Mets didn't bring him back? And I think last season he got touched up in his first start as well. And then he had a really, really good stretch after that. So maybe he's a guy who has to go out there. He's got to get a feel for a real game, get a feel for the mound, take some time to maybe adjust to that level of pitching. And then after that, he can dial it in. But with the new pitch clock, that's a whole other question as well with him. That's been a question with him. And
it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a question of everyone around the league. And until we see 5 or 6, maybe even 10 starts from every single starting pitcher using the pitch clock this season, we're going to be able to then take that data and separate. Yeah. I don't want to use this term, but the men from the boys, if that makes sense. Guys who rise to the occasion and the guys that drown. So it's still early, and even in spring training, we know that some of these guys got a lot of spring training starts, but the first 3 or 4 spring training starts these guys get are 3.5 innings. Yeah. 3 1/3, 3 2/3, because they want to save their arm. And then the last
of them
start
are against minor leaguers.
How many times did Jays play the Pirates in spring training? How many times did they play the Phillies?
5 times. Yeah.
And the Phillies were missing Trey Turner out of their lineup. Reese Hoskins got injured. It wasn't the same that they're going to be facing in the regular season. So you got to take it with a pinch of salt, realistically.
All right. One guy I want to talk about as well is Bo Bichette, who continues to be elite
at the plate
offensively.
Yeah.
Incredible. Came into spring training, signed that deal, got to work, looks amazing at the plate. But we saw it on opening day. I don't know if I can trust him.
On defense?
Every time he gets a ball hit to him, I tense up. I cringe.
Yeah. I'm
I almost don't want to watch. I'm almost like
you're doing one of these, when you're a kid, just what's he gonna do? Oh shit.
Because this seems to be Bo. This just seems to be Bo.
Yep. It's unfortunate.
Great hitter, a below average defender at short. And I think that as long as he hits like this, they're not going to move him to second base.
It's tough, man.
I think the only way they would move him to second base is if they had a lined up shortstop that they could sign as a free agent. I don't know if there's anyone in the organization that they want there.
Aroldis Martinez is the only guy that comes to mind, but we know that his defense isn't exactly, and also his defense isn't exactly top notch, right?
But I think we're officially this season on Bo to second base watch. I'm not calling for it.
Yeah.
I don't. It was again the first game of the series, and he's looked okay since then. Okay.
He's also not had a lot of hits to him. I think he's only had 4 or 5 plays over the first 4 or 3 or 4
that opening day. I was I don't want to say I was disappointed, but I thought I didn't think we'd see that early as well.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
But again, at the plate, incredible. My God.
Yeah, you got to give him his flowers.
I could watch him hit forever and love every single time. It's a pleasure. It's a treat. But man, I do get worried every time a ball's hit to short, which I feel like a lot of teams don't have that issue. And it must be nice.
Yeah, that's true.
So the Jays walk out of St. Louis kind of with their tails between their legs a little bit. They were 1-3. We'll just update you guys. There's no secret now. They're 1-4. But I'm not too concerned.
No, they're 1-3. They're 1-3. You're right.
Oh yeah, they're 1-2. Sorry, they were 1-2 after St. Louis. Now they're 1-3.
Now they're 1-3 because everyone watching by this point will know that last night was a
Jose Barrios looked
like Jose Barrios last year.
Yeah.
All that work in the offseason for nothing.
I thought I don't know, man. He makes no sense. Anyways, we're not going to get into that.
No,
now.
We'll talk more about it later.
It's taking everything for us not to just start going in on that, but
because it's
Jack, was there one big takeaway that you wanted to talk about from the opening series in St. Louis? Other than the Cardinals are good, that was kind of my takeaway. Was the Cardinals are really, really good.
They're sneaky, scary.
Jays didn't have everything come together.
No.
And I think we thought the rotation was going to be a strong point of this team. And when one of your supposed biggest strengths turns out to be a weakness, it can make you look really bad. But I don't think that trend is going to continue throughout the whole season.
No.
But I think that it's not what a lot of us expected, and it's not what I think
it's not what we were advertised either
when they were making these moves.
Yeah, no, it's not what we were spoon fed, saying like, oh, like look at all the stuff that we did. It's like, yeah, no, I agree. But then now when you see it in real time, it's like, well, shit, that didn't go according to plan, did it?
Yeah, but again, I want to credit the Cardinals, man, because they have I think looking at their lineup over this weekend, that is deep.
It's probably the deepest in the National League Central.
Yeah,
I'd argue. I would
say it's deeper than the Dodgers. I would say it's deeper than maybe not the Padres. I would say it's one of the deeper lineups in the National League.
I'd argue that,
bottom,
yeah.
Top to bottom, they have guys. Top to bottom, they have guys that can hurt you from either side of the plate.
Yeah, Jordan Walker hitting in the 7 spot is.
Yeah, even Wilson Contreras was hurt for the second games. Was it the second game or the second?
No, second game. He caught in the third.
Okay, so Wilson Contreras went down for a game like that, and they still had a decent game. Jordan Walker, I thought he looked really good at the plate, a rookie. I know we are the Blue Jays, the Blue Jay Way podcast, but sometimes you just have to credit the other team because after that first game, they came out hungry. Yeah. They said, you guys are not going to do this to us again, and they won.
Yeah. But just tip your cap to them. That's it.
Yeah, there were a couple positives. I mean, as we talked about, Matt Chapman and Kevin Gossman looked they performed. And this is as much change between two teams as the Jays have had in the past couple of years. So it's going to take a bit of time.
They're still figuring each other out.
Absolutely.
They're starting to figure out.
Still figuring all of them out as well.
And Don Mattingly being in Schneider's year all the time is huge as well. You know.
So we're not at panic stations. If they lose 3 out of 4 to the Royals, we might come on here in a couple of days in a bit of a different tone. But sometimes I think it's good to be humbled a little bit. Sometimes I think it's good to understand that, to beat these really, really good teams in the league, it's going to have to take a complete team performance, and it's going to have to take a bit of a different level. That was kind of my biggest takeaway. Is it's not easy. You can't just walk in here thinking you're a good team.
You got to prove it
in the game. It's you got to put it all together, and you got to stay dialed in. Everybody has to stay dialed in for the entirety of a series. They looked dialed in the first game, and it seems like after that the bats fell silent and
drove off a cliff.
And in the third game there, it was just about a starter getting rocked, which is going to happen. That's going to happen. That happens all the time. You just hope it doesn't happen consistently, start after start to the same guy, which I in my heart don't think is going to happen. But
no, I don't think so. I think Bassett bounces back 100% after that. So
he's a veteran. That's what I like. If he was a young guy, I would be a bit more concerned. But I think because he's a vet, he can try and figure it out. He can have a better grasp of how to figure it out and how to overcome it. Okay, Jack, do you want to get to our boy Owen's question in the comments now?
Yes, that sounds like a good idea. And I actually really like this comment that he made. He says, who do you guys think is most likely to get traded at some point this season? With Merrifield producing, I think Biggio and Espinal are on the trade block, but I'd love to hear what you guys think. Owen, thank you for the question/comments. Chris, hand it off to you first. Who do you think's more likely to get dealt at the deadline, Biggio or Espinal?
Well, I don't think Espinal's played yet much at all.
Yeah,
this season.
Yeah, that's true. He started off hot in spring, that's for sure.
He did.
Yeah, but again,
I just think the fact that Biggio's a lefty
and he can play more positions.
I know, but Espinal's so good defensively, and that's what I love about him. And I think that's where he adds a lot of value to the team.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could also spin that and say that's where he adds trade value.
Yeah, that's true.
So, you can maybe get like a good reliever for him.
Yep.
So out of the two, I would lean Espinal. As a fan, I would probably rather see Cavan go.
Yeah, your heart says
Yeah,
Cavan, but your head says Espinal.
yeah,
Yeah.
because of the fact that like we saw it yesterday with Brady Singer on the mound. It's just an example of kind of this dilemma here. Is Biggio got the start over Merrifield because he's a lefty.
Yeah.
And with Espinal, you wouldn't be able to really do that if you're John Schneider. So I think it would have to be Espinal. I'm trying to think of anyone else on the major league roster right now that could get traded.
Well, let's see. Vladdy's definitely not getting traded. Bo's not getting traded. Springer.
Now.
No, you're not going to trade catcher now. You already did that. You're not going to trade Varsho. You just got here. Kiermaier's the 1-year contract. He's staying. Belt, same thing. There's really no one on the major league roster other than
that log
Espinal and Cavan Biggio. That's it, realistically.
Yeah.
So
the only other guy I can think of is Chapman, but he's too important.
Exactly, and his defense alone.
But he's a free agent, and you might be able to catch him when he's really hot at the beginning of the year and get a lot for him, and then bring up Barger. But again, I would hate that. I like it. That's a heart like that's a head over heart thing for me. That's really the only thing I could think of. Unless it's like depth.
What if you were to package guys in a trade? Like if you're like one of your starters with Espinal or Biggio for a better starter. Like a Jose Barrios with a.
It seems like all the starters now they've committed to though.
Which is unfortunate.
Well,
but anyway,
yeah, you could spin it that way.
Yeah, there's so many options. Owen, you've kind of given us a little.
Yeah, Owen gave us the best. He gave us the best too.
We'll give you an answer more definitive next episode, hopefully.
Yeah,
right now we're just like
how the season plays out as well because it's still so early, and that's just what I'm going to continue to say until maybe they get home from this road trip and we can evaluate, the first couple of weeks of the season.
And that's another thing too. They're starting off on a 10-game road trip. Like that's tough on any team, right? Like you just want to sleep in your own bed at some point. You haven't been for like 2 months. You want to get home. I know Toronto, so these guys is just kind of it's a home base, right? Like it's like, oh well, I have my apartment in whatever, Bloor West, whatever the hell these guys are living. But, point is that like they're just sleeping in their own beds, eating their own meals, like they're comfortable and they haven't been comfortable for a while. So in all honesty, I'm curious to see how this road trip plays out. If they can win, 6, if they can go 6-5, that's not terrible.
No.
Or 5-6 even. I'm not too worried because you come home and you play the Detroit Tigers.
500, get home,
get regrouped, and then go back out on the field and perform. Which, by the way, is another thing. Have you seen the new photos of the Rogers Center?
Yeah,
it looks gorgeous.
Like a lot of fun.
That looks gorgeous. I'm gonna put them up for everyone to see on the screen when this is edited.
The open spaces look great.
The standing bars look freaking awesome. $20 general admission tickets.
It's gonna be a lot of fun, man.
Chris, I think we just go to one series a month or every 2 weeks. $20 general admission, man.
Yeah, dude.
Take some stories, get some.
Get some on the subway. I'll just hop on the subway. I'll be there, buddy.
Yeah, for me, it's just a short train ride. So,
the only thing that could get in the way of that is work, but we'll figure that out.
Who needs money?
We'll definitely get out to a lot.
Who needs to pay rent when baseball season's on? You know what I
mean? Sure.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
I think that's all, man. I think that's a good recap.
Yeah, I'd say that was a good. Now that we actually have baseball to talk about, it's nice. Even though the Jays have kind of sputtered out of the gate, this is a veteran team at this point. I think we could say maybe it takes them a bit more time to get warmed up, to get things kicked into gear. Don't want to give any excuses for the boys, but just trying to stay on the positive side of things. Yeah. It's still very early, and still plenty of season to go. It'll be okay.
All right, folks. Also, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment like Owen did in the comment section, and we will respond to it in the next episode. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Blue Jay Way podcast. For Chris May, I've been Jack Ryan. Take it easy, guys.